I recorded a video of me watching one of Gribley's recent videos, and I'm recording it, me watching it, in hopes that someone will watch it that isn't subscribed to Gribley and will subscribe to Gribley, because he is a rock star. You can tell he has writer-author friends, Gribley, because he's eloquent. The things that he says and the way that he says them is always, not always, but typically very impactful. And he's intelligent as all get out, so half the stuff he talks about, I don't even know what the hell he's talking about. His meditation are the woods. That's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But he also talks about politics in his own way. And that was one of the reasons one of the many reasons I started this YouTube channel, is to get me away from Facebook and whatever other social media talking about politics, because I did it and it's a waste of time. You know, you're throwing fuel on a fire with all the people that disagree, and all the people that agree, you're just making them smile and continue the process, and it's ridiculous. But I couldn't get out of it. Every time I'd see something that I disagreed with, it was like death. I just wanted to, respond and tell them the way it was, which was wrong in itself. Wrong for me. Gribley's something else. I don't necessarily agree with him on all of his politics and thoughts and opinions, but the ones that I don't agree with, he makes me think about them quite a bit. So, and I love that. So, anyhow, without further ado, Mr. Sir Gribley.
These institutions, these things that we have held so dear, democracy, republicanism, the rule of law. I used to believe so fervently that America was an exceptional country, that we were qualitatively different from every other country on the face of this earth. And hey, maybe we are. I think the argument can be made. But the fact is, no matter where you live, from Haiti to Manhattan, you're still a human being, and you're still caught in the human condition. And the human condition, invariably, is one of people and rulers, in the body politic sense, and the government. It was that way when we crawled out of the caves, and the biggest one among us was the alpha male leader caveman. He was the government, and the other cavemen and women, they were the people. And that's the way it is now. I don't like it, but I can't change it. And no one in history has been able to change it. Sometimes it's more severe than others. Holocaust, a purge, Pinochet. You can point to all the Pol Pot. You can point to all the examples that you want. Sometimes it's worse than others. Americans have enjoyed relatively easy times in this regard. But we're not any different. We're not any different. And the rule of law, civilian government, these are things that, while they might have worked for a while they might have kept us a little bit safer for a while, these concepts, in the end, they're still just concepts. And concepts don't exist. Ooh, now, Gribbs, that's a stout statement. Hold on, what are you saying exactly? Okay, look, show me the government. Show me the government. What is it? Who is it? The best you're going to be able to do is show me Donald Trump, or whatever president is in power, whatever senator, Okay, those people actually don't have any power over me. I'm not afraid of Donald Trump. Bring him out here to the woods. We'll see who's got the power. We'll see who's got the upper hand. We'll see who the alpha is. Donald Trump and me in the woods. So the best you can really do is point to the man with the badge and the gun that Donald Trump orders around. The LEO, the law enforcement officer, right? Men have been killing each other since before there were laws. Men have been arming themselves for combat with each other, to tear at the flesh of their brothers, to quote a phrase. Since before there were laws. The law is not the reason that this guy has power. The gun is the reason that he has power. Guns exist. Guns exist. The law, the government, doesn't really exist. And, you know, I always known that. That's like poli-sci 101, right? Like that these things are concepts that we create to allow us to like get along with each other, right? Someone's got to have order. Someone's got to be able to enforce that order. And so I allow a cop to point a gun at me and move me around and whatever under due process. Because of the order, because of the civilization. And it's true, it works, it makes it work. Until it doesn't. But you won't find anyone that will, you know, in like a poli-sci class that will actually tell you that this thing exists, that these things that we're wrestling with, these ideas, we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but with powers and principalities. Out here in the woods, you wrestle with flesh and blood. And I want to take that back to the world. I try to take that back to the world. When I'm holding a trout in my hand on the edge of a river, that's flesh and blood, right? When I go back to the world and I hand someone a dollar bill, a Federal Reserve note, to give me a whatever fraction of a gallon of gas, right? That's a power and principality. That's something we made up. It's a concept that we use to deal with each other, and that's fine. Except then it comes down to, see, I'm going to lose some of you. I'm going to lose some of you by saying this, but it comes down to quote the same book, the greatest commandment. What's the greatest commandment? Love God, love your neighbor, because they're the same thing. That's it. That's the greatest commandment. And all the other commandments, they hang on those two. When you get caught up in the powers and principalities, you can always find a reason not to love your neighbor. Somebody came to me asking for money. People in the street ask me for money all the time. I can always find a reason to be like, you know, I don't want to support you because I disagree with this thing about you or that thing about you or the way you live or the way you whatever. One time I really needed help. I needed emergent help. I was literally not going to make it through the experience that I was going through if I didn't get help. And a person with whom I disagree, probably the person with whom I disagree the most, was the one that came and helped me. If we were to sit down and talk about powers and principalities, we'd probably have to end the conversation because we wouldn't want to offend each other. Or we'd talk about it on the internet and, you know, the point would be to offend each other. But when it came down to flesh and blood, she was there for me. So the woods have taught me in this past year to stop wrestling with the powers and principalities. Just ignore them. Because they don't really exist anyway. That's it. Keep the ends out for the ties that bind. And brown sugar Pop-Tarts. Because they definitely exist.